I know I had to give y'all. We will write them on the tablets of our heart. Today we are here again, y'all. This is the Teddy and Monica show. You all know how we do it. We are so excited to be in the place today, y'all. We're so excited, so excited. We have a special guest once again, you all, Miss Vanessa Barbour. And y'all, when I tell you, yes, I'm gonna let her introduce herself. I'm just gonna give that name, baby. I'm just gonna give that name.
I'm just messing with you because you changed your playlist on me. You came with a good song.
Write them on the tablets of your heart.
I need mine changed for tomorrow.
I would definitely get it changed. I would definitely get it changed. So we're gonna jump right into this, y'all, because we don't have a lot of time. We have to get this information out there the way it needs to be put out there, because what we're going to talk about tonight, you all, is so important for people, and especially for the African American community.
Well, it's everybody love everybody.
Yes, yes.
And Dr. Vanessa and I were talking, and I was like, Dr. Vanessa, you know, as me for a female, I'm gonna start with me.
Yeah.
We're overwhelmed. And so you're running here, you're running there, you're taking care of kids, you're taking care of husband, you're going to work, you're paying bills, you're going to the doctor. And I said, Vanessa, sometimes you feel like you're going to break. So we had Dr. Vanessa to get ready to come on. And guess what our topic is today, y'all? Just because, you know, like I say, ripping and running, I need some help. So she came up with this topic. I just might need to talk to somebody.
Amazing topic. Amazing topic. Amazing topic.
An overview of counseling and therapy.
So to jump into this thing, let's introduce our special guest to everyone tonight. Please introduce your people introduce yourself to the people tonight, Miss Vanessa, Dr. Vanessa.
My name is Dr. Vanessa Barbour. I'm a native Nashvilleian. I'm a licensed counselor and a child of God. Shout out to Temple Church, my pastor, Daryl A. Drumright, and I'm a counselor, and sometimes I just might need to talk to somebody too.
That's amazing.
Ain't nothing wrong with want to talk to somebody.
That's right. That's what it's all about tonight. We just might need to talk to somebody.
All right, Miss Vanessa.
So are we ready?
Yes, we are.
As Monica has already said, you know, we were just talking about all the things that bog us down. We keep putting things on our plates. We won't take anything off our plates. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. And sometimes life, as they say, life just be life.
Yes.
Okay. We get overwhelmed. And in our community, not only in the African American community, but in the Christian community, we don't spend a lot of time encouraging people to talk to somebody. We say, pray. We say, if you pray, don't worry. If you worry, don't pray. As Pastor Drumright says. They say, what is it? I'm too blessed to be stressed. I don't know about y'all, but I've been blessed and stressed at the same time.
Absolutely.
And I have prayed and worried and worried and prayed.
Yes.
So we're going to talk today about why it's okay. I just might need to talk to somebody. First of all, it starts with a relationship with God.
Yes.
And I will never start a broadcast without pointing that part out. We are fearfully and wonderfully made, and our bodies and our minds were not made to house the junk that we are putting into this temple, this body temple.
Yes.
Okay? He wants us to experience life and life abundantly, not later, but now. And then thirdly, when life is lifing, as we call it, it's similar to being like a sanitation worker. We keep piling stuff in the truck, piling junk, piling garbage, piling stuff in the truck. If we don't dump it somewhere, the truck runs over. Now, it starts with a relationship with God. Who is God? He has lots of names, doesn't he? But the one that I like is the one that says he is Jehovah Rapha, the God who heals, because he heals our minds, our bodies, our souls, our finances. He heals whatever needs to be healed. And our minds need to be healed. I just might need to talk to somebody. Make sense?
Yes, it does.
Let's keep it going.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
His name shall be called Wonderful Counselor.
Like that one.
I might need to talk to somebody. And then last, cast your cares on him, because what? He cares for you. So he cares that you might just need to talk to somebody. Okay? Now, moving on through, there are different people, different types of people in the Bible who sought counsel. And there's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Jack Hydes, and his book talks about all the people in the Bible who sought counseling.
Okay.
In other words, it's okay. There are fathers who talk about rearing their children. There's a mother who seeks counsel about her dying son. There's a young preacher seeking counseling about how to be a preacher. There's a son who lost his dad's donkey or something. He had to go get counsel about how to find it. People seek counsel about illness, political decisions, young Christians, and then there are some kings in the Bible who sought counseling. David, Jehoshaphat, Ben-Hadad, Solomon, Nebuchadnezzar, and Artaxerxes. Artaxerxes had 7 counselors.
Oh, wow.
So counseling is okay. Now, while the Bible is not a psychology textbook, it does give us the opportunity to get wisdom and guidance from those other people who are wise and knowledgeable for us to be emotionally and mentally healthy. Okay? Now, one last little part, and then we'll take a pause and let you all talk. What does the Bible say about counseling and about therapy? I'm not going to read all the scriptures, but I am going to give them out for our listening audience. We have Proverbs 11:14, where there is no guidance, the people fail. But in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. Okay? So there are several scriptures. Proverbs 15:22, Proverbs 24:6, Proverbs 19:20. All those scriptures talk about what the Bible says about counsel or counseling. Then let's call it therapy if you want to. Psalms 34:18. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. That's about counseling. That's about your spirit being crushed. Therapy. Isaiah 61:6, Matthew 9:12, James 5:16. Those are some scriptures that deal with therapy. So if nothing else, by now we recognize that we all experience brokenness and we need help at times. So whether we seek help from a wise and godly counselor or a therapist or God himself, the Bible doesn't tell us to get therapy, but it encourages us to get help when we need it.
I like that.
You like that?
I sure do.
You like that? So do we need to stop right there and kind of ask any questions? Anything you want to go back over for that just part of it? I just want to lay that foundation that it's in the Bible, that we can do it. It's okay for us to do it. We don't have to be afraid to do it. We don't have to live on those old lines of, oh, no, just pray about it. That's all. We can pray about it. We should pray about it, but we can do more about it than just pray.
Right, because that's in the Bible.
That's
yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I have no questions, Miss Vanessa.
Theodore, how we doing?
Amazing. I mean, the only thing I would ask, do you think we should set up counseling in churches? Do you think we should have a specific place in churches for counseling?
That's a hard question to answer. First of all, let me again shout out my church. Temple has a counseling ministry. It's called the ACTS, ACTS Counseling Ministry. Minister Sylvia Page is over that ministry. I believe she was. I think she's still over that ministry. So we have a counseling ministry. I think it would be very helpful. However, I think you need to get people, therapists, counselors, lay workers who are not members of your church to run it. And let's talk about that on the end. That's a very good question, because if we know each other, there runs the risk of you getting the Holy Spirit in church and thinking I'm looking at you because you may be upset or crying because of something that we've talked about in counseling.
Wow.
I know you.
Wow.
That's why counselors don't counsel people that they know.
So are you saying your church has they have an outside counseling?
We have a counseling ministry. It's at I don't want to give too much information, but it's in a residential area. It's in a house.
Okay.
So it looks just like the houses around the neighborhood, and you go there and you don't have to be a member. It's just the church's sponsors that counseling agency.
Oh, I got you.
Yes,
Okay, I understand.
yes,
Okay, okay.
yes,
All right.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll talk about why you don't counsel in-house when we get to the end. Is that okay?
Mhm.
Okay, so
All
make
right.
a note of that.
Okay.
All right. So let's go on and let's talk about how counseling and therapy are similar. Now we call it psychotherapy, but it's therapy for short. Therapy and counseling both treat mental health problems. They involve talking to a trained mental health professional. So the terms psychotherapy and counseling are used interchangeably because there is a lot of overlap. That's how they're similar. But now they are different in this, and this is broadly speaking.
Mhm.
Counseling tends to be focused on one specific issue and is considered to be short term. Go in, talk about it, come on out.
Okay.
Okay. You may learn some coping techniques and problem solving issues. Psychotherapy or therapy tends to be a broader range of issue, more complex problems, and it can last a long time. The treatment for that can be a long-term treatment. Can get a little bit deeper depending on what the issues are.
Okay.
Okay, so does that kind of help a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we make a little bit of a differentiation between counseling and therapy, but they're both kind of overlapping the same thing. Now let's talk about what they're not.
Okay.
They are not a cure for anything. Counseling therapy is not going to cure your problem. Don't look at me like that, Monica. Counseling therapy is not going to cure your problem. It is not a fix it to whatever your issues are. It is not going to fix you. That's not what it's meant for. It is not justification for not doing your part. You can't go to a counselor or therapist and have them tell you what to do, and you don't have any work to do. They are not going to fix you. It's not going to happen. It's not a substitute for God, prayer, study, discipline, or obedience. Because if you go to a therapist and they tell you some suggestions of how to be helped, you've got to be the person to follow those things through.
Mm-hmm.
And as a Christian, it is not a substitute for God, for prayer, for study, for discipline, or for obedience. God has to be a real, living, active priority in your therapy. I know you want to talk about that, don't you, Monica?
Oh yes, most definitely.
So let me finish up and then we can start. So in therapy, you talk about your thoughts, your feelings. You learn to understand your behaviors and better work with them in a collaborative way to promote your mental health. Your goals include helping people to learn to cope and better manage their responses to life stresses. We're stressed out. Well, we're going to be stressed out. So, how do you deal with that? You have to learn coping strategies because it's not going anywhere. It's not going away. It's going to be there until we leave this earth. We are going to have stresses.
Mm-hmm.
Suffering is a part of what we do. Don't forget that.
Mm-hmm.
Suffering is a part of what happens, what we have to endure. So we're going to have some stresses. We just have to learn how to cope with them better. We want to understand and change our patterns of behavior because the way we do things get in the way of our personal goals. And then we want to have more satisfying relationships and we want to be fulfilled. We don't want to run with our tongues hanging out. So I'm going to stop there and I'm going to let you two ask me questions and we'll go from there.
Okay, Vanessa. So the first thing I put on my piece of paper, mental health makes it seem like you have an illness.
Okay.
I don't think I like to say I have a mental health problem.
Okay.
You might help me with that.
You might not have a mental health problem. You might just need to talk to somebody to check in. Have you ever been in a situation where you really didn't have anybody to talk to and you just wanted to know, am I the only person that's going through this? You don't have a mental illness. You just might need to talk to somebody. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here. You and I just recently shared a situation, didn't we?
Yes,
And we've known each other for a while, and I had been through that situation, and you went through that situation, but neither one of us knew that the other one had been through that situation. When I went through mine, I didn't have anybody in my circle who had been through anything like that before. I didn't have a mental health issue, but I needed to talk to somebody because I had never experienced that before. I didn't know how to handle it. Now, just because I didn't know how to handle it doesn't mean the therapist hadn't talked to somebody else about it. Just because I didn't know anybody who had been through it doesn't mean my therapist didn't know somebody else who had been through it. So when we say mental health, it's no different than us saying physical health. Or when we say health, we should have good health. It means all of it: emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, all of it. So you can call it whatever you want to call it, or you can just say, you know what? I don't have mental illness. I just might need to talk to somebody.
I like that better because that mental part right there just got with me. Okay,
but mental just means your mind.
I know, but you know how this
then say emotional
health,
or say emotional well-being. My emotional well-being. You like that? Like better? That okay, find whatever you want to call it. Look, just go talk to somebody if you need to.
Okay, so this next one you stunned me with is that, I'm gonna take the time to go see a counselor or a therapist and they can't fix me. So I'm just going out on them. I thought they could fix me. So you have stunned me, Dr. Vanessa, on that one.
What makes you think you're broken?
Well, if I'm going to the therapist or the counselor, I need something. So
what makes you think you're broken?
Okay, I might be cracked.
You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Do you believe that?
I do believe that.
Okay. If you are fearfully and wonderfully made in a fallen world, things are going to get a little bit out of kilter now and then. As the world progresses, as we keep going, as things keep happening, things are not the way they used to be. The current term is we've got a new norm. So you may not be broken. You may not be broken at all. You just may need to talk to somebody. The therapist is going to help you see things that you may not be able to see. He or she is going to help you manage your behaviors. He or she you're going to talk to them about how you're doing things, and they might give you some suggestions on how to better do them. You might go and they might say, you know what? You don't need to be here. You're managing just fine. Just give yourself a pat on the back and some confidence. Just because you go doesn't mean they're going to find something wrong. You're going because you might just need to talk to somebody. It's not guaranteed that you do. You might.
But I'm saying if I might and I do, they find something, I want them to fix it.
Okay. We're going to talk about how they can and cannot fix. They can't fix you. They cannot fix you. And if you go in expecting them to fix you, you're going in with the wrong attitude because they're human just like you and me. They've studied to give you some ideas about how to better manage, but they can't fix you.
Well, I guess that's what I'm saying. The way to better manage my problem.
Exactly. So that's what they're gonna do. Oh, you call that okay? Well, if that's the case, then they're gonna but you still have to do the work.
Yeah. Hey, I do the work all day.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
So before we move on, I got to ask this question, and I'm gonna stick within the guidelines of what you just gave.
But before you ask, look at me. Dinner. Keep asking.
I'm picking from what, so I can actually get in. I'm picking from what I'm looking
you said
at.
You were going to
but what I do want to ask, you said that counseling and therapy are different. So by them being different situations, would you suggest can that come from the same person, or would that come from different people, being that they're different and not similar?
They can come from the same person or different people. It depends on what the problem or the reason that you're going to see them. There's a lot of overlap. Okay, it's not just clear. Counseling is short term, therapy is long term, there is some overlap, there's some gray area because there are so many different levels and different types of counseling and therapy. Okay, so I tell you what, let me read that off real quick and then we'll come back to your question because that's a good question. So let's go on to the different types of mental health professionals. So we start with a psychiatrist. Okay, he is a medical doctor who specializes in what he does. He can prescribe medications. Everybody doesn't need a psychiatrist. Okay, your issues may be a lot more serious. So you may not need a psychiatrist. How about a psychologist? He has a doctoral level of training in psychology. He's able to diagnose and treat mental illness. He can perform certain kinds of tests, certain kinds of tests. Then we have a licensed social worker. How about that? A licensed social worker. That person has a bachelor's degree in social work, but a licensed independent social worker has a master's degree and 2 years of supervision. They can diagnose. They can treat mental illness. They can provide psychotherapy. They can advocate for patients in the hospital. They can perform discharge plans. You know, like when you get discharged from the hospital, and they can provide case management. That's a licensed social worker. Then we have a licensed professional clinical counselor. At a minimum, master's degree in psychology, 2 years of supervision. They do some of the same things. Then we have a licensed marriage and family therapist who mainly deal with family issues and marital issues, which is different from what the psychiatrist does. See how it's different? So it depends on your problem. And then we have a psychiatric or mental health nurse. Now, all of these people are different, but they all have to have a certain level of training in mental health. And you get in your area, you get in where you fit in. If you, and I'm just using y'all for an example, if you and Teddy have issues that you want to talk about along the family and marital counseling issue, I can't see you all going to a psychiatrist for that. Okay. You find that kind of a therapist. So Teddy, does that kind of help qualify your question a little bit?
It definitely answers my question.
Okay.
This is a broad situation right here.
This part of it really is, which is why I try to just keep it simple. And I might need to talk to somebody. And so I'm going to tell you at the end how to find perhaps the right person to talk to. Okay.
So right. You're saying like the minor problems, like the everyday life, you might not necessarily need a psychiatrist.
No, you may not. You may not even need medication for that. You just might need to just go talk to somebody and say, listen, I'm stressed out right now. I love my husband, but he's putting all this extra stuff on my plate, and I'm trying to be a good wife. I'm trying so hard. And I'm telling him, and he's saying, no, we got to do more. We got to do more. I'm picking on you. We got to do more.
I got to cut in. I didn't listen enough. I got to cut in real quick.
Come on. I knew it. Yes, come on.
To me, and this is just a question within what we're talking about.
That's fine.
Do you believe that as husbands and wives, we can counsel each other?
You asking me professionally or personally?
Period. It could be on a profession. I'm saying if I was licensed and I was married to a particular person.
All right, let me ask you that type of counseling from me. Let me pop it back to you. Uh-huh. If you were a licensed doctor, would you treat your wife?
Absolutely.
Shouldn't.
But
you shouldn't. So to answer your question, no.
Okay.
To answer your question, no. Okay. And here's why. Because when you are married or family or friends or connected, there is a different level of connectedness. A counselor or a therapist needs to be objective. You cannot be objective with your wife. Can I say it nicely? You sleep in the bed with her every night. How you going to be objective? Well, no, you can't do it. No. We'll argue about it, but you can't do it. Now, you may be able to suggest some things, but to counsel your own wife, in a counseling sense, a psychotherapy sense? No. Counseling your husband? No.
Well,
You asked me my
you
opinion.
used the reference of doctor, and that's why I took the doctor thing.
And I think
so
that's what's that word we use? Conflict of interest.
I understand.
Yeah, I think it'll be a conflict.
I understand.
So that's what she's saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. It is.
Okay, so I got a question. So,
Okay.
a psychiatrist, is that necessary to people that been? I mean, just because you say psychiatrist doesn't mean you're gonna be them people in those straight jackets.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Wow.
A psychiatrist, by definition, and it's a fair question because what the questions that you're asking are the presumptions that people make, and that's why they're
Mhm.
afraid
Right.
to go and talk to somebody.
Mhm.
That's why I gave you that whole list of everything. You can go from a nurse all the way to a psychiatrist and in between. Okay?
Right.
But a psychiatrist is deeper. Let me figure out how to say it to the audience. A psychiatrist usually deals with the kinds of mental problems that are above just the everyday run-of-the-mill problem.
I got you.
Okay.
Okay.
Because sometimes our minds can snap for
Mhm.
various reasons.
Mhm.
Sometimes we can have what they call breakdowns for various reasons. And those kind of problems require long-term, sometimes medication, longer situations. And so those psychiatrists are medical doctors as well.
Okay.
Okay. They've been through the gamut. They can diagnose brain situations. People who have had brain injuries and don't come back from them all the way may have some issues.
Okay.
So as a psychiatrist, I don't want to say that they're at the top of the rung, but I will say that they are the most qualified because they deal with deeper issues. And then the psychologist does too, but not quite with the psychiatrist. So you could go to a nurse. You could go to a psychiatric or mental health nurse, or you could go to a social worker. My therapist is a social worker. Even though I'm a counselor, I have a therapist because I can't heal myself.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
When I talk to other people, I'm objective. I can see it because I don't know anything about them. I know everything about me. I don't know you, but I couldn't counsel you. I'm in your salon every week. I don't know you, but I have certain presumptions about you, and you have certain presumptions about me.
Absolutely.
So that's why you can't counsel your husband or your wife. Okay. How we doing? Are we doing okay?
Good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the one thing that I want to say before I do move on to the last session is this: life coaches are not a part of this list.
Expound, please. Because that's the new norm now.
That's why I have to say it.
Okay.
Life coaching basically came about right before or right during the time of COVID. When everything went topsy-turvy, people had to start figuring out that we have a new norm now. How am I going to make money? How am I going to brand myself? How am I going to do all these things? Okay. Life coaching is not tried and true or studied. Life coaching does not have the statistics and the research behind it. It hasn't been in existence long enough. Psychotherapy has been in existence, tried and true, long. Life coaching is mainly about careers, work, and that kind of thing. Life coaching should not deal with mental health issues.
Wow. Okay.
So life coaching to professional counselors and therapists are not a part of our group. And we're not putting them down in any way. Please understand. We are not putting them down in any way. When it comes to mental health issues, that's really not a part of what we do. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So now, therapy? Me? I might need to talk to somebody, Monica? Me? It's the buzzword now, isn't it? But you know what? I might need to go to therapy. That's why I told you on the front end, it's not the end all, It's not the be all. It's not the fix it. You still have to do the work. Well, let's look at some of the reasons why we don't go to therapy. Can we do that?
Mm-hmm.
Culturally, it's a bad word in our community. We were taught to just pray about it because Jesus will fix it, won't he?
Mm-hmm.
We hid our relatives, we labeled them, and we excused their behavior. Uncle Johnny has some problems in the back room. I'm sorry. Okay, y'all know he not right.
Mm-hmm.
That was the worst thing we could have done. But we didn't know any better. We didn't know what to do. It's not anybody's fault. We just didn't know what to do. We didn't understand how we could need therapy because we thought we were so different from them. And you know how they are. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't think we needed it because they are the ones who need it. We didn't need it, but we're more alike as God's children than we are different. We're all fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yes.
So we have the same problems. Services were not readily available to us. We were scared to access our benefits. How did it look for a Black person back then to go talking about, I might need to talk to somebody? Have you ever thought about that? How did it look? How would it have looked for one of us to go into our job and say, you know what, this job is stressing me out. I might need to talk to somebody. We would have looked at each other crazy. They would have looked at us crazy, like, you better get on back in there. You know what you need to do. We weren't valued, so we didn't value ourselves.
Right.
We weren't valued, so we didn't value ourselves. We were in denial. We were scared. We were ashamed. We're still ashamed. We're still scared, in denial. We didn't know how to go about getting help. We didn't know what to do. We knew we needed it, but we didn't know what to do about it. And we couldn't ask anybody because we were afraid of being judged. Okay? As I said, we are more alike than we are different. We think that the counselors, this one is for you, Monica. We think that the counselors are going to tell us something about ourselves that we don't want to hear, that we don't want to agree with, or that we don't want to accept about ourselves. Because as Christians, we want to be right.
Well, in that, you have to understand that anytime you tell someone anything about themselves,
Exactly.
if it's bad or if it's good,
Exactly.
they're gonna either take it negatively or
Exactly.
positively.
I
So,
agree.
as a counselor, I mean, what are the guidelines? What are some of the points you would say? Okay, I mean, do you take it lightly on them if you offended them, or do you just continue on with the structure of the counseling session?
Well, what you do is, and I'll just divert a little bit right here, but here's how it kind of works. You don't go in with that mindset. What I'm reading here is some of the reasons why people don't go to counseling because within themselves. Now, let me finish what I was going to say, and then I'll hit your question. As Christians, we're trying. We're trying. We're messing up and we're getting up and we're trying. And it's not working and we're trying. And we're still trying and it's not working. So if we go to hear someone or talk to someone, we go in sometimes with that mindset because, I'm doing the best I can. So when you tell me I'm not doing it right, or whatever it is you tell me, yeah, I'm going to feel some kind of way about it. But the counselor is not there to tell you that you're not doing it right. The counselor is there to listen to you, tell them how you are doing it and why it is or isn't working, and give you some suggestions on how else you might do it. Counselor's not going to tell you you're doing it wrong unless you're doing something detrimental or something physically harmful. If you come in and you tell me I'm drinking 5 glasses of wine every night, I'm going to tell you you're doing it wrong. But I'm not going to tell you that your way of dealing with A, B, C, D, and E is wrong. I want you to tell me how you're dealing with it. I want you to tell me, is it working for you? What parts are working? What parts are not working? Well, maybe you can try it this way. Does that sit well with you? Does that make sense?
So real quick, can a counselor, well, just almost a narcissist? I know it just came to my mind when we were talking.
Good word.
So, is a counselor really able to help a person like that? Because we knew like several of them did.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
And it is like but they are some I don't have words for them.
A counselor is a professional, just like your doctor, your attorney, your whoever. They have the option or the right to terminate services if needed. They have the option or the right to refer you to a different therapist if needed. So to answer your question, if the narcissist really wants to be helped, and most of them don't, that's going to be something that a person would assess pretty early, and that counselor would just make up in his or her own mind, I can do this, I want to do this, or sir, I will not be able to serve you. You might want to find a different therapist. Now, here's the kicker. The narcissist doesn't know that he or she might need help. It's those of us out here who know that he or she needs help. So you can't tell somebody else they need help. That's a realization that they have to come to on their own. I just might need to talk to somebody. I can't tell you need to talk to somebody. I just might need to talk to somebody. And I'll share this little quick story. When I went through my situation that you and I were talking about, I didn't have anybody to talk to. Now I'm a counselor. I didn't have anybody to talk to. I'm single. Family. I went to my brother. He said, you might need to go talk to somebody about that. I did. And they made fun of it. My family made fun of me. My family made fun of me.
So was it like because a counselor is going to see a counselor?
No, it's because how can you need to go talk to somebody? I had never been through what I was going through, and I had never talked to anybody else of African American descent who had been through it. It was new. Now I knew there were some people out there who had been through it, but wasn't not talking to me about it because they were embarrassed and I was embarrassed too. At the end of the day, when I finally came to terms with what was going on, there were 47 people who went through it at the same time that I did, and I knew all 47 of them. But I didn't know it at the time. So, the narcissist would say, I'm not going to see a counselor because I don't need to go. But it's the rest of us who have to come to terms with the fact that I just might need to talk to somebody. All right, let me hurry on too, because I see our time is running out. We think that they're going to ask us to do something that we don't want to do, can't do, it's too hard to do. Now, that's where the real rub comes in, and we've already talked about that, okay? So it might not look like what everybody else is doing. Everybody else may not be going, but you have to do what is best for you. You can't look at what these people are doing. That's part of our problem. We look at everybody on the outside and we're all smiling and nodding our heads and we're getting along, aren't we? We're making it through this life. But inside we're messed up. We're messed up. And we just might want to talk to somebody. We just might want to talk to somebody. Okay? So here's some signs that you might need to talk to somebody.
Right, please. Yeah,
You've been waiting for that.
That's what we've been waiting on right there.
And I'm going to go quickly because I know our time is moving on. The first one that you mentioned was you are super overwhelmed. Got way too much on your plate. You can't manage it. You won't manage it. You keep adding more and more and more on your plate out of guilt and obligation. Can't say no. You're sleeping too much or too little. That could be a sign. You're avoiding being social, or you can't keep basic healthy relationships. Now, you're isolating yourself from your partner for long periods of time for no real identifiable reason. You might. I'm not saying you do, I'm just saying you might. Your anxious thoughts consume you. When your brain won't quit to the extent that your thoughts are overtaking your day-to-day life, your thoughts are intrusive. You're thinking about one thing and something else just intrudes on your thoughts. You can't control your emotions. Now, there's nothing wrong with being an emotional person. Some people are more emotional than others. But when emotions get in the way of your everyday life, you might need help learning to better control your emotions. You don't need a psychiatrist for that. You just might need to talk to somebody. You don't care about anything. You lose pleasure in your hobbies or activities. You lose interest in the things you enjoy. You feel hopeless. You feel like you can't cope, and that could be a sign of depression. And most therapists want you to move on that one quickly. If you've given up all hope, we need to get you in to see somebody about something. You do need to talk to somebody. You're having problems at work. It's hard for you to concentrate. You burn out. You're receiving unusual feedback about your performance. You're eating more or less than usual, because a change in appetite either way can be an indication. You've experienced trauma. PTSD is real, and it's more than just soldiers. It can be acute or it can be chronic. Recent trauma, past trauma, you haven't dealt with it. You're having flashbacks, emotional numbness, irritation. You might need to talk to somebody. You're grieving. That's a big one. Grief is a big one. Okay?
Let me pinpoint real quick right there, Vanessa. I mean, you gave a lot of interesting points on what you may need or know to want to talk to someone. But what if knowing all that, knowing everything that you just asked, but they still in their mind don't know where to go or know how to actually present that or come out of there? Because some people shut down when these things happen. They don't just be in situations to where they just say, I'm gonna just go call somebody, I'm gonna just go pick up the phone and try to find someone to talk to. In your mind, when you don't, and I don't know if I'm taking you too far with this, but I don't know, in their mind they might be like, I don't know how to even start to do that. Okay.
Right.
So to start to even get to a mindset where you even can say, I got to do this, but I just don't know how to even start to do this. What's
Last
suggested?
page. Last page.
Can I interject real quick? Before you go there, because I know you got to go there.
No,
So,
I'm gonna answer this question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Uh-huh.
But my question to you is, because we had talked, because we had went to the women's conference, and I shared with you, a lot of the women were saying that they were overwhelmed with just day to day. So are you saying, because a lot of women, I guess their jobs, some of them, want to be married, they're not. So all these things are wearing on them. So is it safe to say that they do need to go talk to someone, or is it okay? Like, for example, the moms that have small kids, because I know work on, they have small kids, so they're running to the daycare, they're going to work, they're going to the grocery store, they're going to cook, then they got to bathe the kids. But that's kind of like a norm. That's what we do as a mother and a wife. So does that necessarily mean that you need to talk to someone?
No, if you're managing it and it's not interfering with your day-to-day activities, you may not need to talk to someone. Nothing that we've talked about today is an absolute.
Okay.
It does not automatically mean you do. This is things for you to think about on the inside to help you decide, do I need to talk to someone or not?
Okay.
So if you're managing it and all you want to do is just kind of say, you know what, I am overwhelmed, but you can find ways to relax, take a little bit off your plate, breathe a little bit, go for a staycation, whatever it might be to manage it. You may not need to talk to anybody. You may just need to talk to a good friend who just wants to let you vent, you let her vent, y'all go to lunch and keep it moving.
Okay.
But when it starts to interfere with your day-to-day ability to function and to be the best you can be, as they say, living your best life, you just might want to think about it. And we have too many people walking around who are afraid, Teddy, to get out there and find somebody. They don't know how to start. So let me tell you how to start. Here we go. Oh, I have two or three more. You're using substances to cope.
Mm.
Okay? And you're performing risky behaviors. You might need to talk to somebody. You're engaging in secretive behaviors. I don't mean minding your own business and staying to yourself. I mean secretive behaviors. You're ready for a big change or a transition. Nothing's wrong at all. You're just ready for a change. You might want to talk to somebody about how do I make that change? Something feels off. I don't know exactly what it is. I just feel off. You can go talk about it. Feeling stuck, fatigued, and feeling angry or resentful. You mad at the work. Okay.
Yeah,
So
now
here we
this
go.
one sounds like any free resources. I know you get into that. I know you get into that.
Yeah, I am, and I'm right down to the wire. Tips for finding a counselor or a therapist. Number one, prayer, meditation, and a little talk with Jesus. Now, I keep throwing that in. I keep bringing that in because as Christians, it has to start there.
Mm.
You can talk to him and he will tell you, yeah, you might want to go talk to somebody. Remember all those people on the front end in the Bible? These were people who had more direct access in that time, right?
Right.
But they still had to have some help.
Mm.
So we have direct access too, but we have to have some help. Sometimes he'll tell you, you don't need therapy. You need to take some of that mess off your plate. You need to say no sometimes. You need to stop saying yes out of obligation. Just sit down and be quiet and listen to me for a while. Stop trying to do so much to prove this to that person or that person. You ain't got to prove nothing to nobody but me. Talking to Jesus. It starts there. It has to start there for the Christian. Now, if you're not a Christian and you're listening anyway, I don't know how to tell you to start. But for Christians, you have to start. Second, you talk to your primary care doctor and ask for a referral or a list of options. Your regular medical doctor. He is responsible for helping you. You go in and you tell him, I'm not doing well. I'm not doing well. And if you go to a therapist like mine, who is not a doctor, she's a social worker, she works in conjunction with your primary care doctor in case you need medication to take the edge off just a little bit.
Mm.
And if we have time, which I don't know that we will, I'll tell you about that. Talk to people you know who are already in therapy to get recommendations. You can learn what they like or what they don't like about a therapist. They can also tell you what to look for in a therapist, as well as any red flags. Just like anything else in the world, there are some red flag therapists out there too. Okay? If you plan to use your insurance, look up the providers covered under your plan. Go to your EAP office, Employees Assistance Office. Okay? Find out how many sessions you can have a year. Because usually if you need longer, you can do a copay and pay extra if that's what you need to do. Or you can get them to approve more if you need to, and that's confidential.
Okay.
HIPAA. Okay? And then finally, I'm gonna give credit one more time to my pastor, Darrell Drumright. He has said this a number of times. Prayer, a pillow, meaning a therapist, and if you need it, a pill. Don't be afraid to get a pill to take the edge off. And I'm not talking about that other pharmaceutical stuff. I'm not talking about puff, puff, pass. I'm not talking about the bottom of a bottle. And I will share this if I have 30 seconds. When I went through my trauma, I was balled up on the sofa. Now, I'm a counselor. I was balled up on the sofa in a fetal position for almost a week. All I could do was cry, take a shower, get back on the sofa and cry. I didn't have anybody to talk to. I didn't know how to deal with it. I went to my primary care doctor. I made an appointment. I walked in, he walked in, I started crying. I, I was totally out of character. He never seen me like that. And I'm going to be personal now and share my personal story because I don't want anybody to think that I'm all that. He wrote me out a prescription for some Xanax because I couldn't even function. I took them for 3 or 4 days. I went back to him and I took a leave of absence from work. I used my sick days because I couldn't function. I could not function. I couldn't help anybody. Once the Xanax kicked in and leveled me out, he took me off of them. Because I wasn't trying to get addicted. I just wanted to be able to get back to my normal self and function. And to this day, I have a prescription for a different leveling medicine in my in my cabinet. Now I don't take it because I don't think I need it. But if I feel myself getting a little anxious, I call him. And I say, is it okay if I start back on him? And he'll tell me, do this, whatever. Now I haven't had to do that for a while, but it's right there if I need it. So does that answer your question? How do you start?
It answered my question.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. What else would you like to know? I know we got about 2 minutes with
Well,
that one.
yeah.
Okay.
That's
Come on.
real quick.
Come on.
Come
So
on.
did you give the free resources? I have a listener that wants to know, is there any free resources?
You mean like free counseling?
Yes.
The only free resources that I know of right off would be any free services like through Medicaid, or if you have free insurance, not free insurance, but if you have insurance assistance, you can get it through your insurance. Like if you have, what is it, Medicaid?
But what if they're not? Oh no, what if you got like
Okay, what do you
like I have Blue Cross Blue Shield. So
Right,
are you
okay,
saying
okay.
I can go? Is it something in that's free?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's a part of your insurance.
Okay. So
Okay. In other words, if you have when you say free resources, you're meaning it's already included in your insurance.
no, I guess she's asking because everybody.
If she doesn't have insurance, is
right?
that what
I
you're saying?
guess if it's everybody has some programs that are free. I guess I'm saying that you can go to.
Okay, this is what you do if you have insurance, this is what you do. You call your benefits office and you say, and we call it employee assistance program. You call your benefits office, just like if you were going into the hospital and you call to check on your benefits, you call and you ask, do I have counseling benefits? And they'll say, you have 12 sessions a year.
She said no insurance.
No insurance, you're going to have to go through social services.
Okay, social services.
Social services.
Okay.
So y'all, like I say, this time goes by so fast,
It
y'all.
sure does.
Great topic. I pray that someone out there listened and heard something that can help them. Vanessa, I'm gonna let you give a conclusion because we got about 4 minutes and we're out of here. Monica, you got anything else you want to say before Vanessa gives her conclusion?
Women in general, I know we do a lot, and Vanessa's explained. If you can handle your load, then you go for it. And I always say, God don't put no more than you can bear. I know a lot of times we, as women, we do put a lot on our plate. But if you can't handle it, then Vanessa, if I'm correct, you might need to go talk to somebody. But if you feel like you can handle it and you can say no to some things, and
the other thing too is that as women, we are so how do I want to say this? We worry about what other women think.
That's true.
Instead of getting down and dirty and saying, you know what, it's a little bit too much for me to deal with. It's a little bit too much.
Or else tell the other person to mind their
business. Exactly. And sometimes it's a matter of praying and asking God to surround you with women who can keep your information private, not throw it all up and down. Well, honey, did you know A, B, C, and D? Just like the situation that you and I had where we came together and realized that we had a similar situation at 2 different times. I would never share that with anybody. And I trust you enough not to share mine. But I would love for us to sit down and talk about that, because when I went through mine, I didn't have anybody to share it with.
Mhm.
And I kept asking God, help me.
Yeah.
He didn't help me.
And ladies, I love what y'all y'all about to take it a little bit further, but we have come to an end. I hate to
Thank
end
you.
this
Thank you
topic,
so
Vanessa. We
much.
have enjoyed you
Yes,
so
we
much.
have.
So much today. It has been an amazing, amazing show, you all. You are listening to WFTB 104.1 FM, Tab Nashville Gospel Radio. You all be blessed.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.